I'm going to be doing a reading this morning from The Power of Freedom and Grace by Deepak Chopra. The world of the ego is time-bound, temporary, fragmented, fearful, personal, self-centered, self-absorbed, and attached to the known. It clings to pleasure and recoils from pain. The world of spirit is timeless and eternal, free of past and future, whole, joyful, open and accessible to all. The world of spirit is the world of community, insight, and love. This world is real, undivided, unshakable, dynamic, creative, self-sufficient, powerful, and free of limitation, expectation, and attachment. Inner joy is independent of the situation, circumstances, people, or things. When you experience inner joy, you are happy for no reason. Just the mere fact of being alive, to gaze at the stars, to experience the beauty of this world, to be exponentially alive in the miracle of life itself is your happiness and joy. Through your body-mind, you create and experience the world of objects and events in space-time. Through your intellect, you create and experience the world of ideas. Only through your soul can you create and experience the world of power, freedom, and grace. In the depths of our being is the light of pure being, pure love, and pure joy. When you live from here, a new world opens. This world is unbounded, infinite, eternal, joyful. And this can be your world if you want it. In this world, there's no limit to your power, freedom, and grace.
Joy, 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 joy. And that's what I'm going to talk about this morning is joy. Joy, as we know, or intuitively know, is a choice. It's a choice that any one of us can make at any time in our life. It is that spark that's within us that ignites spontaneously sometimes when your heart is open to it. Our heart needs to be open because joy is something that comes from our heart. It doesn't come from our thinking mind. And so much of the time, our mind wants to be in charge and in control of everything, doesn't it? And it wants to say, well, if you want this, what you have to do is no. That's not what joy is about. Now, I'm guessing this is going to be true for all of us. I know it's true for me, and that is that my goal is to find the joy in everyday life, to find that joy in those small things that happen and occur at all times. And what instinctively and spontaneously happens when we are conscious of that, when we're doing that, is that happiness, that gratitude, that sense of awe, all rush in, and we get to experience all of it from there. Joy is that sense. It's one of those things that's really hard to describe. I feel it as that sense of intense peace. And it just kind of comes over you. And it's not necessarily easily explained because it's something that just is. It's one of those things. And when we miss it, when we're looking for it. Does that make sense? We spend all of our time searching for it, looking for it, wanting it, seeking it. And the truth is, it's already here. We miss the presence of joy when we move too fast through life. If we get caught up in all of our problems, if we get caught up in our struggles, and then once we can stop and become still, hop off that treadmill of life that we're on, we can easily and quickly return back to our center, return to our true nature, that peace that passes all understanding. We will find that joy in the silence. We will find it in our connection with the divine, with our source. And we find it in, of course, present moment awareness. And it's real easy to slip out of that awareness, isn't it? You find yourself going through the day and you go, oh, this is beautiful, this is great, I'm right here, right now, and something happens, and we snap right out of it. Even with the best of intentions, that happens. And before we know it, we can find ourselves moving mindlessly through life. We go through the motions, we take care of obligations, we go through those habitual patterns that we have, and we long for that time when our to-do list is done. Does anyone have a to-do list that is done? I don't. It grows, it doesn't shrink. When we get so caught up, though, it's like our mind's in this little whirlwind. And we're missing out on what's right in front of us, what's already present, what's waiting for us to realize that it's sitting there. And that, when we miss all that, that's when we get angry. That's when we get frustrated. That's when we become unhappy. And it's all unnecessary stuff. It doesn't have to be that way. Hafiz said this, I wish I could show you, when you are lonely or in darkness, the astonishing light of your own being. Isn't that beautiful? And it's the truth. We are each and all that astonishing light of being. And I know you see it in other people. Now I'm challenging you to look in the mirror and see it in you also. What I want to point out is this morning's talk is about the pursuit of joy. It's not about the pursuit of happiness. And I'm going to use a story to illustrate the difference between those two. There are these three men. One's a PhD student, one's a postdoc, and one's the professor. And they're walking through the city park. And they come upon this antique lamp. Now, when you see a lamp, what do? You rub it. So they rub this lamp, and out comes this puff of smoke and follows a genie. So the genie looks at the three of them and he says, you know, usually I grant 3 wishes. Since there are 3 of you, I'm going to grant you 1 wish each. They were good with that. So that PhD student said, me first. He said, what I want is I want to be in the Bahamas, driving a speedboat with a beautiful woman sunbathing on the deck. Poof, he's gone. Well, the postdoc student says, hey, me next, I want my turn. He said, what I want is I want to be in Hawaii. I want to be relaxing on the magnificent beach with a professional hula dancer on one side and a line of Mai Tais on the other. He's gone. Poof. Well, so the genie looks at the professor and he said, okay, you're next. And the professor says, I want both those guys back in the lab right after lunch. That's what we call temporary fulfillment, right? And that is what happiness is. Happiness is an emotion that we experience with feelings ranging anywhere from contentment and satisfaction to impermanent, intense pleasure, for instance. Happiness has, its source is actually external. It's based on events, circumstances, things, people. It's a temporary outward expression. And it's generally future-oriented, right? I'll be happy when. I'll be happy if. Deepak Chopra refers to that as object referral. And what he means by that is that our happiness is dependent upon something outside of us. So joy, on the other hand, is internal. It's a self-reference. It's that emotion of that great peace, that calm, that delight. It comes from within, and we have that permanently. Do we always express it? Do we always realize it? Probably not. However, it is there, and it is ours. Simply, if we go in and look. comes when we make peace with who we are, with what we're doing, with why we're here. And that peace cannot be shaken by anything outside of us. Not by circumstances, not by things, not by people. Another way to look at is chocolate. Doesn't that make perfect sense? Let's say that you're having this incredible craving for chocolate. I figure many people do. So you take a handful of this chocolate and you put it in your mouth. And you get that feeling of great, deep satisfaction, of fulfilling that craving. And it feels pretty good. So you say to yourself, what the heck? I'm going to have another handful of that. And it still gives you that feeling of satisfaction, just not to the same degree as that first one. That sense of happiness or pleasure was much more satisfying the first time. Are you with me so far? Well, if your stomach is already full, and you try and take a third handful of those chocolates, it begins to become unpleasant. And the fourth one is forced upon you. Forced and chocolate doesn't go together, but anyway. But if that fourth one, that fourth handful is forced upon you, it makes you sick, right? So where's the real happiness? Where's the fulfillment? Where's the joy in that, really? It's that temporary satisfaction. If chocolate had the ability to give us that happiness, it would be able to grant us that happiness at all times, in all situations, under all conditions, right? It wouldn't be able to change its nature. And that's what I'm talking about, experiences that are derived from our senses. Those are always external. And those experiences ultimately leave us feeling disappointed and much less fulfilled than when we first started. Thus, we have addictions, right? We are trying to recapture that feeling, that sense of fulfillment. And the Vedanta, the ancient scriptures from India, tells us that happiness for a reason is a form of misery. And it is because the reason can be taken away from us anytime. Just like that chocolate. And to be happy for no reason is the happiness that we want to experience. That is the joy that I'm talking about this morning. That inner joy that's independent of any situation, of any circumstance, of any person or anything. Searching outside of ourselves for fulfillment and struggling with life as it is probably our biggest obstacle to expressing that joy that's within us. That's stopping us from sharing that joy, and maybe in some cases even seeing that joy and recognizing, knowing that we have that within us. Human beings tend to search for a sense of belonging, a feeling that they are here doing what it is they're called to do, that they have value, that life has put us here for a purpose. And you know what? All of those things are absolutely true. And it's our work to find out what those things are for us personally. All we have to do is reclaim that truth, grab onto that truth. We do not have to create anything new. We do not have to make it up as we go along. It's already there. It already exists. It is already within us. And when we have that knowing, that understanding, when we have that inner security, that joy will just naturally arise and burst out of you. Now, being joyful doesn't mean that you have to get up every single day and dance and sing in every moment of life. I don't know about you, but that is not who I am. You will come to realize, though, when we can move into that place of joy, when we can be in that place of joy, life becomes easier. And then also, there's a lot less time to be unhappy. We don't stay in that struggle. Hema Chodron, who's an American Buddhist teacher and author, says this: the most difficult times for many of us are the ones we give ourselves. Isn't that the darn truth? She believes the key to being joyful is developing loving kindness and an unconditional friendship with ourselves. Well, of course, we know that. It starts here, right? And it goes from here to here to here to here. And they tell 10 friends, etc., right? Always. We can't give away what it is we don't have. And I think so many times we try and do that. I saw something on the news the other day. I always say I don't watch the news much, and then I bring the news up, right? I really don't. It just, you flip. Anyway, we're all completely aware of those fires out in the desert. And I happened to see the story on this man who, thank you God, had his family. They saved his family, and that. His home was entirely destroyed. All of his belongings, all of his personal possessions. And he was out there in some kind of, I don't know, tractor or something, I don't know, helping his neighbors and taking care of their stuff. And I thought, wow. Well, what he had said was, my stuff's gone. I can't do anything about it. And let me go help this guy. Which is exactly what he did. You see, joyful people don't allow life's ups and downs to influence them on a daily basis. They don't allow those things to ruin their day. They don't dwell on their problems. They have that quiet, peaceful calm within them, and they share that with everybody that's in their path. We've all been around someone like that, and aren't we grateful when we are? When they smile all the time, when they enjoy their own company, when they are living in that moment. And they are almost always happy doing exactly what it is they're doing in that moment. Not wishing things were different or hoping that something would change. They are exactly where they are and content and joyful with that. And as I said, struggle is probably the biggest barrier that we have to expressing our natural state of joy, which is inherent in every single one of us, by the way. We have it, it's there, waiting to be expressed. Throughout our life, most of us have been taught that we need to keep that stiff upper lip, not let our emotions get in the way, not let our emotions get the best of us and interfere, if you will, with our life. Well, Brandon Bays in this book, Freedom Is, which I love, has a beautiful chapter on this. And what I really liked was she gives us permission to be unhappy, to be sad, to be whatever it is we are at this particular moment in time, to be with our emotions deeply, to feel them, to allow them to surface so they don't get buried. Makes perfect sense logically, doesn't it? Because when we bury those feelings, they end up inevitably emerging at a different time. And they do so with much greater intensity. What we forget is that emotions are a natural part of being human. And those emotions truly do need to be expressed. And she contends that when we waste so much time and so much energy resisting the natural flow of life, there isn't much of that life force left for us to experience that joy. Have you noticed that? We get all caught up in this and we miss the joy. It moves right by us. Many of the great teachings and a lot of the traditions will teach you, they're unanimous in the belief that all the peace and all the joy of the universe lies within you. Many of them teach that very same thing, that we don't need to strive for, develop, or attain anything. We simply need to realize what is already here. And that allows us to focus on and to savor life's precious moments. No one outside of us can create joy. Joy already is. It is yours just for the opening, for your acceptance. And you will experience it as you open up your heart to that experience. Expose yourself to the beauty of all of life. Living in joy is a fascinating, exhilarating path to be on. And as life weaves its precious moments together, we have a great impact on how we choose to perceive those moments. It's entirely up to us how we perceive those moments. Looking through a positive lens, taking proactive steps as we move through different crossroads in our life. And yes, we all have them. Yes, we all get to experience them. However, how we see them, how we respond to them, will make the difference between a life of joy and a life of sadness. Examining our choices throughout our life, living with an attitude of gratitude, can go a very, very long way into fulfilling our life's journey, to experiencing that path of joy. And there's no doubt joyful living will take absolute commitment on your part. It asks us to be awake and aware in each and every moment of our lives. It invites us to pay attention to our habits so we can reclaim our gratitude, our wonder, our awe, our presence, that peace that passes all understanding, those qualities that the young children we see haven't quite lost yet. So this week, and every day of your life, I invite you to wake up every morning full of joy, bursting with the idea that something wonderful is about to happen. So thank you so much for being here while I share this truth as I understand it.